Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry coming to you from two socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. You can find all of our previous works at heartlandmamas.com, on every podcast platform, YouTube if you want to see our goofy faces, and proudly carried on the Demcast USA network every day or every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock. We bring you the message of progressivism, the Democratic Party, and democracy. So, Murray, we're just a little less than 2 weeks out from an election. I want to
Yes,
say the
we are.
most important election of our country's history because we're looking at
I
the
would have
end
to
of our
agree with you, Heidi.
and we used to say that all the time, but it's like now everything pales in comparison, and we have to talk about the shenanigans that are going on as far as voter rights. So we knew when they overturned the Voter Rights Act that we were going to have an uphill battle. We knew that that was going to be a problem. But we didn't take into account of the fact that we have a president that totally disregards our Constitution. His followers disregard the Constitution. They think that they know the Constitution, but I can guarantee you that they have not read it or digested it. They probably didn't do well in the study of it because it was just a blow-off class. And now it's like the class you really need to know. So let's talk about the shenanigans going on as far as voter rights, because I'll tell you what, I'm glad I voted early. I'm glad I put it in the hopper at the courthouse. I'm glad it was counted. I don't have the results from my county, but I'm glad it was in early, and I don't have to worry about the shenanigans. It's like,
So you're absolutely right, Heidi. The first thing I want to tell our listeners is if you can at all vote early, because the shenanigans are less in the pre-election day voting, in early voting.
mhm.
And a part of that comes around because of Steve Bannon and Donald Trump and their 50,000 person army that they're raising of poll watchers. And what did you call them, Heidi?
Well, we know that they're Trump sycophants, but I like to refer to them as the Trump truants.
Trump truants. Right, right. Okay, so he's going around the country. In fact, he was just in Virginia, lighting up the local Republican Party out there, multi county tour, where they all came together, probably unmasked. And he
Yeah.
was talking about the importance of the election and forcing every vote to be sticklers to the details and not taking no for an answer. He's literally firing them up
Yeah.
for some sort of conflict because that's what's anticipated. And when we
Yeah.
were first talking about this, you mentioned that 50,000, he's not going to find 50,000 crazy people to. And
Well,
actually, I think the 50,000 is not going to be a problem. The problem would be the duration. So, what we're seeing is that there are less shenanigans the earlier that you vote.
right.
You have your systemic issues, but a lot of the anticipated stories we're expecting
Right.
are more than likely going to happen on election.
Murray, we've seen drop boxes set on fire. We've seen in Sarasota where there have been armed insurgents blocking access to the polls. That's pre-election. Election day, it's going to be crazy, and all they're trying to do is make it seem like it's too scary to go out and vote, or that it's not safe to vote in any manner because it'll either be set on fire or disregarded, or the mail won't get there. And DeJoy did
Election,
yeah,
100%.
DeJoy did a terrible. Well, he did the purposeful job of dismantling the post office for his buddy Donald Trump, so that he could have, subvert the election somehow or call into question the sanctity of our elections. Now, our elections until Donald Trump really were an honored and revered tradition of being an American citizen, right? Nobody
And now
would
that
screw
doesn't
with
mean
it.
that countries haven't forever tried to interfere in
Right,
elections through
right.
propaganda, through
Outside
special
countries,
interest groups.
yeah, but not.
All other countries have tried to interfere in elections. However, the interference has been fairly minimal, and it's been caught due to our intelligence
Right.
network that we have that helps govern our country. We used to have a DNI who is now Chicken Little, and who would actually take intelligence information from other countries and analyze it. I've been doing a lot of reading about the national the a lot of our intelligence agencies, and some of them are very detailed. They want as much analysis as they can get, and
Yeah.
this fella doesn't.
No.
He's like his boss, and that is not really a good thing. So we have many things working against us. We have system designed to protect us that was specifically eroded by the
Right.
president
Right. Over the
for
last 4
the
years.
opportunity to
Yeah.
steal an election.
Right.
And you
He
throw on
has
top of it, oh, go ahead.
no. He has spent the last 4 years trying to dismantle our social safety nets for voting rights and for voting access. He spent the last 4 years, and the Republicans go along with this because none of the shenanigans, Murray, not any of them, can be linked back to a Democrat or to the Democratic Party. Now, with the exception of there was like one story that came out that a neighbor had written to another neighbor that he was going to burn down somebody's house because of their Trump signs, I think it was. Those incidences are so few and far between. They would be, I was reading a statistic today, they would be 0.000 of 1% that the Democrats are doing this. And when I ran for office and I was having a lot of trouble with sign vandalism, our LaSalle County Sheriff's Office said, this is only a one-way street. And this is our Republican sheriff. It's only the Republicans going against the Democrats. It doesn't go back the other way. And I see that all the time. Whenever we have damage to stuff, to election signs, to events, it's always coming from that party. What is it about them and trying to manhandle, pussy grab our elections? Why can't they just allow people to vote and take their lumps? It's because they know that 90% of the country disagrees with them. Just saying.
You know, I don't know. I don't think you're wrong in that respect. But I also think we're kind of lucky because this administration has just such a horrible, ridiculous plotting ability, strategy, that the loose cannons they have attracted to their administration are out there and unhinged. But those crazy folks do serve a purpose, and that purpose is to undermine the people's belief that the election is fair and safe. And that's
Right.
exactly what the purpose is.
If they can make people too scared to vote, too scared to put a sign in their yard, too scared to text bank or phone bank, if they can make people too scared to go to the polls, this boogeyman is bigger than the reality. And I know you did the math earlier and you're like, well, but Heidi, it could be this, and that, the other thing. And I told you, Murray, they don't have to be that many. They just have to make people think that it's that many. Then they win. They get inside their head.
Absolutely.
And, you went through that with a guy that wanted a sign that was scared to put one in his lawn. I've been through that with people, the same thing. They're like, I just don't know if I can do this or not. Well, that's what they want you to feel. That's what a bully always wants you to feel. They want you to feel fear. They want you to feel oppressed. They win. They don't have to do anything but walk by you and knock your books off once and you're scared of them the rest of your life, right? So now you just have to take a different hallway, go around them, go early vote, put your ballot in the hopper at the
courthouse.
Not
saying vote on election day, but
yeah.
I want to make a couple points about voting on election day. It's great. I used to always do it. It was my thing to vote on election day, and then
Mine
1 year
too.
I missed because my kids were sick and I had the flu. My husband was in another state and they were all little, and I could not drag myself and my kids out of the house to vote.
Oh my gosh.
And it's so easy for life to take an off ramp. You're coming home from work, you get a flat tire, you have to call AAA, it takes 2 hours, you get home, you can't vote.
Right.
So do it ahead of time.
It happens.
Get it done. Do your civic duty. If you live in like most of the states that are doing a ramping up of vote in mail, have mail tracker apps that you will be able to use to see when your ballot was
and
mailed.
Mail it early. Mail it by this weekend. Don't
mail
delay.
It now.
Mail it now.
Have it in your hand.
Hang up from us. Go fill out your ballot. put it in the mailbox, put a stamp
Not
on it
until
just
we're
in
done
case.
with our show, though.
Yeah, well,
Not until we're done
okay,
with our
not until
show.
we're done with our show, but you need to make sure that you get that out there so that you have more time for it to arrive. And if you're worried about the hijinks and the shenanigans that are Republican in nature, get in your car, take a little drive, drop it in the hopper at your courthouse. Make sure it's the one at the courthouse, not one of the fake ones that they put out in California. Go through
Can I just
Starbucks,
point
get a
something
latte,
out
go
here,
home.
Heidi?
Yeah.
You made a great point that it's always the Republicans doing
Yeah.
the shenanigans
Yes.
and the ridiculousness. No, 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 no. The Democrats do it. They just do it behind closed doors in their
Well,
primary. But in the general election,
when it comes
you
to
know,
voting
it's the
rights,
shenanigans
yeah,
that happen on that.
yeah. When it comes to voting rights, Democrats go out of their way. Blue states go out of their way to help people vote. We always do. I'm not saying that Democrats aren't don't do backroom deals. My God, we live in Illinois. We live and die by the backroom deal, right? But we have to make sure that when it comes to voting rights, that those rights are open and free to every citizen that is able to vote because
And that's out of our hands unless we go vote.
right.
You don't go vote, you don't get to have a say. You have to vote for your clerks. You have to vote for your state secretaries.
Right.
You have to vote for the president who isn't going to curtail your rights. The Republican Party in the last 4 years has done an immense amount of damage to voting rights,
Right.
from a felony conviction expungement and not allowing them vote till their fines are paid, to blocking online voter registration in a pandemic. Thanks, Alabama. To fake drop boxes. Well, we
California.
it.
Yeah.
To requiring witness signatures on mail-in ballots in the middle of a pandemic. You have to have a witness signature for your ballot.
Did you hear about how people are doing that, showing it through their window so that they can have an eyewitness? Yeah, that's in Wisconsin. Or is it Indiana? One of those two states. It's either Wisconsin or Indiana. You have to have a witness. So they're holding it up to the window, elderly people especially, and sick people, so their neighbor can see it. And then they have to slip it to them somehow so they can sign. I mean, what kind of bad shit, crazy banana pants stuff is that?
Banana Republic.
Right.
That's what it is.
You know,
I
was telling you, Marie, I remember it was 1988. I went to vote. And I went down to, we lived in Oswego, Illinois at that time. So I went down to the Park District, I think was my voting place. And just that earlier that week, people were voting in Haiti during the Papa Duvalier horrible times. And Haiti's had a issue of governance since their inception. But people were standing in line to vote and were being shot while they stood in line. Not everybody, but enough people that it made people scared and they went home. So that Baby Duck or Papa Duck would be reelected. And we had poll watchers. The USA had poll watchers there, people there to help. And they were being shot at as well. Now, you only have to shoot a couple of them for people to not show up. And I don't want to give Trump's tyrants...
Isn't that kind of the theory? You make an example of someone and others won't follow through.
Right.
That's the bully brute mentality.
Exactly.
And it's not just happening at a level that affects us where we might see it or where there's the threat of it and it causes us to be afraid. But it's a systemic level too. Like you mentioned, it is from the courts to the legislature to the state houses. It is every chance there is possible to the federal mail system, for Christ's sake.
Well, to the Supreme Court, because as they go through and try to stack the Supreme Court, they've stacked because of the obstruction during the Obama administration. A lot of judgeships were left vacant. That was, McConnell hedging his bets that we would have a Republican president for the last 4 years, which we did. So with all of those vacancies, like a gift to the Federalist Society and to the ultra-conservatives, the Sharia law believers of the United States that believe that women have no place in society, that believe that you're heterosexual or you're nothing, that women have no rights, that the environment doesn't matter. All of those people, they gave this gift of a huge block of judges. And the Republicans have stacked the courts in the federal system and now are preparing to stack the court in the Supreme Court by pushing through. And we weren't going to talk about Judge Barrett today, but yet here we are. This may fall to her. Her first vote might be on this election, deciding the.
I think that there is something that she would have to recuse herself. I don't know if she actually
Do you think
has
she
to or they
actually
can push her
would?
to.
I don't think she would. I don't think she would. I don't think Amy Coney Barrett has any integrity whatsoever that she would recuse herself. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it because she's a Republican, period. No. Seriously. Seriously, I've seen behavior in my...
Now, that doesn't mean... yeah, all right. She has chosen to become a Republican in the public eye. That's different. She has chosen to attach herself to the slime-sucking cesspool that is the Republican Party.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. So, you know...
So let's talk, Larry. So we know what to do, guys. If you see something funny and you're voting, you know what you need to do?
Say something.
You need to go to your county clerk.
Go to your county clerk. Don't be afraid of the roving bands of miscreants on election day. Go and vote. Go and vote.
Go and vote.
Just
I mean,
don't.
even if you think of it, Heidi and I were talking about numbers here, and if they want 50,000 armed, right? In Illinois, we have 102 counties.
In Illinois, you couldn't get away with being armed at an election, at a polling site. It will not happen in Illinois.
Right. Well, what I'm saying though is any harassment or interference.
Yeah.
That they're calling for all of these folks, and maybe they're not going to target all the states. I'm sure they're going to target only swing states, and swing state voters are hit with emails from the Proud Boys. Supposedly they came out of Iran.
We see the sign in your yard, and we're coming for you.
Yeah. And a trailer park a landlord in a trailer park subtly threatened his tenants that rent would go up if Trump won. Vote for whoever you want for, but I'm just telling you, if Biden wins, your rent's going up.
Well,
I mean, and that
yeah,
but
like he knows who they voted for because our votes are secret. So he does not know nobody knows who you voted for. When you go in go in to vote, nobody knows who you voted for. That's secret. Our ballots are secret. Unless, like, everybody in the world right now is in the United States taking a picture to show they voted for Joe Biden.
Dude, I know it's illegal to do that, but I might just to make sure my vote's counted. All right, so we have another really crazy, speaking of banana pants craziness, tonight is the final presidential debate.
I wore my shirt.
This absolute shit show of a year.
Yeah.
You shut up, man. I love it.
Yeah.
So this year has been cockamamie crazy in every possible way, and we have another debate tonight. So, yes. Heidi, what's your predictions?
Well, okay. So they're supposed to be cutting off the mics during the 2-minute rebuttal. I'm saying that Trump is either going to shout over everything, and it'll be picked up on
plexiglass, though.
I still think you'll hear blah, 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 blah in the background. I think that after a while, he's going to leave the podium and come over and try to steal Biden's mic. I think that would be hilarious.
You think Biden will deck him? Oh my God,
no.
Please say Biden and fucking flatten him. Just knock his ass out.
We talk all the time about should we fight dirty, and it's just like part of our makeup to have the integrity not to deck somebody, even when we want to, It's just part of our chemical makeup. But I think you said it in pre-show, you see him storming off like he did at Leslie Stahl the other day. Or could he put his hand down his pants like Rudy Giuliani? I don't know. Anything can happen.
Honestly, if he can't shout over someone or try that domination thing that he does,
right.
If he can't, he has no
impulse
other
control.
Tools at his. I was watching the Leslie Stahl interview today, and one of the things that Leslie Stahl during the interview was talking to him about was, you seem very aggressive, or sort of, everything seems to be an attack. And he's like, no, I'm not attacking. He's like, I'm defending. I'm fighting again, because he thinks everyone in the world is out to get him.
Yeah. I told you,
he's out to get everyone.
I'm telling you, every Trump supporter I know, and I try not to know too many of them, but they all are like, poor me. Everybody's out to get me, and it's all about me. So don't try to get, don't be mean to me. They all are big, bad, and bluster until their mom calls them home. There's no Oreos for you tonight. So I look at them and I think they're a bunch of whiny, crying baby men. And this is the people who are they're attracted to their ultimate mothership, right? Which is Trump. So the bullies and the whiny, cry baby men and the misogynists and the rapists and the felons, financial felons, they're all attracted to him.
And there was you're right, Heidi. And there was a really interesting article about misogyny and Trump and how to know toxic masculinity.
Oh, yes.
And the article was that so many white middle class guys that are in the 40, 50 range, 60 range, grew up in the era of June and Ward Cleaver. Grew up in the era of the masculine, manly man that doesn't do anything but goes to work and brings home the bacon, or they're the big, strong, tough man, the family man, the man. So they grew up with these ideas. Kids were to be seen and not heard. Women were to be. So they grew up with this false idea, and
Yeah.
it was great. They were talking to folks, men who had voted for Trump in that, and how they were saying, I don't know. It seemed right. It reminded me of my father, and it's a horrible thing. So I think there's some of that going on there with these white guys, that they're coming to the realization that maybe the way they were raised and the way society taught them to be is not a good thing. So
we read that same article on toxic masculinity and how that's really not a 40-year-old thing. It's a little bit older than that. I think, if you think about the shows that were popular when I was a kid, the macho shows, there were no women heroes in Gunsmoke. The only woman was a prostitute. She was a brothel owner. She worked at Miss Kitty worked at the saloon, If you think about Bonanza, the cowboy, shoot 'em up, bang. The only person of color was Hop Singh, who was Asian, and he was the cook.
And take it in a little bit different direction. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
It just popped into my head. Laverne and Shirley.
Yep.
Laverne and Shirley were two women. The whole show was about them.
Right.
Was the show really about them, or was the show about them dealing with all the shit that they faced, and it was perfectly funny and acceptable?
Well, exactly. Lenny and Squiggy.
Over the head shit.
Yeah.
It's all the shit that these guys embraced or had put on them.
Right. Well, exactly.
They're like, well, that's not right. That doesn't make sense. So I think that's a good thing for some of the white men out there that may be turning.
I think if we can release the toxic masculinity, we will be growing as a country by leaps and bounds. But some of the fun things that I read about the debate tonight, Marie, are the drinking game. The drinking.
Before you gotta say, okay, so we went to Heidi went and looked at the Vegas line.
Yeah.
On the Biden debate, on whether he would show up or not. And so there was an 8-1 odds that he'll be there. So as we started talking, we got into some of the other stuff, and Heidi, please tell us all about it. It was hilarious.
Well, they talked about if they'll say first Antifa or QAnon, and who will say it. What is the first state that'll be listed? And I'm going to go with Pennsylvania on this. I think it's going to be Pennsylvania because I think that whoever wins Pennsylvania is going to win the election. I think that's the key one. Although I have to tell you, in 2016, when Florida went red, I knew we were done. It was like Florida or nothing. There's like, what color tie are they wearing? Are they going to wear a blue one or a red one or a purple one? Will it have?
And this is stuff you can bet on in Vegas,
right? I don't bet on anything, so.
Oh, that's awesome. So you can place a bet on what color tie. Okay, so Joe's tie options were blue, light blue, purple,
red,
or other.
Yes.
And I'm going to go with purple.
You're going to go with purple. That's a big choice. And I think you said You said one of the choices for Trump was gold, and you said gold, but I'm going to go with he wore a blue one last time, and I think he wants to be a little softer this time. I'm going to go with light blue.
Ooh.
So,
So, and the reason that I think that Biden is going to go with purple is because his team is going to tell him bringing red and blue together, purple, not divisive. You want
yes.
to be the uniter. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking if his team is smart, they'll put him in a purple tie.
That's why I think that they brought up the purple was for that because Trump is not going to go with purple. He's going to go with his red is red is red, which is what his normal color is. But
His red tie to his toes.
yes, well, he's those custom made. I think that he thinks it makes him look thinner because it goes all the way over his ginormous belly. But I think that the reality is that they just look ridiculous. To me, a tie always looks like the extension of somebody's tongue, like they're, bleh, it just looks like a long tongue to me. I think ties are ridiculous. I don't know why people wear them. So what a weird fashion choice. I don't know. Just to me, I think it's weird. But who decided? At least it's better than the lace collars, or the big pleat collars, the Elizabethan collars, Pilgrim colors.
Is it really?
Well, I don't know.
All right. So, what were some of the other things that we can bet on in Vegas if you're a betting man?
Well, they talked a lot about what will they talk about first. So, will they bring up the wars that are going on in Yemen right now, or in Azerbaijan? I'm just going to say that wrong. If you'll excuse me for a minute, Marie, I have to let my dog in because she's driving me nuts and distracting me. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. I have a dog issue.
So some of the things, I know that he was all hot and bothered because he wasn't able to, the emphasis wasn't foreign affairs. And let me just tell you something. Watching that Leslie Stahl interview with him, he would be abysmal on foreign affairs. The man cannot. He argued with her that he could not grasp the concept that if you take away Obamacare through the Supreme Court, if you take away the pre-existing conditions, there is nothing to replace those with, and all those people are stranded. And he refused to grasp that concept.
Well, and he has always said, but what did we have? We'll just go back to what we had before. What we had before kept my son from finishing college. It kept my family at the edge of bankruptcy for almost 8 years. It wasn't a sustainable way to live. The people are going through this right now. I have friends of mine that have COVID bills now from getting COVID-19 that are unbelievably high. After, originally they said, well, we'll make sure we cover all the bills for COVID-19. Well, you're not. You can't give a frickin' stimulus package to people who don't know how they're going to eat next week. You can't get everybody on board with wearing a mask, washing your hands, and staying socially distant because they have to go to the bar, apparently, or eat out in a restaurant. Now, we have tons of friends that have restaurants. They are really hurting right now. I wouldn't eat in a restaurant right now if you paid me because it's one of the most dangerous things that you can do. I do takeout and leave a great tip. I dine al fresco.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and a lot of places have added patio heaters. We dined out on a patio the other night under a patio heater. It was fabulous. It was really kind of neat in the fall. I've never done that before. Always leave a good tip. We always order like extra stuff and take it home. So they have we have a big bill at the end. But it's just we know that singing, talking in crowded spaces, shouting in crowded spaces, dining out, drinking out, meetings, those are all real indicators. Singing, in a small space, also an indicator of a higher incidence of transmitting the disease. So, there's so many things going on right now. And instead of addressing that, especially when he could be releasing some of the federal funds to these small mom and pop restaurants, to even some of the chains, they do nothing. McConnell has said there's going to be no stimulus package dependent on the outcome of the election, which means if we don't vote for him, he's going to F us over. And the first thing
we can't think that way. You
Well,
cannot think that way. You cannot allow short-term fear to make your decision for a
but
long-term decision.
that's what McConnell is doing. He is so
I know.
desperate to win, and you look at some of those Senate races up and down the ticket, and or over all over the country, and you can see the blue tsunami coming because people are fed up. They are tired of not being able to eat out because we didn't do the work that we should have done in the early part of the year when we could have done it. And it doesn't mean closing the borders to China because 170,000 people still came in from China after Trump closed the borders. And may or may not have had it. Right now, we kind of think it goes back to that Italian ski resort and the people coming back from there that brought it because we're such a global society. It may have originated there, but then it went everywhere else and then came back to us. We didn't do anything about it when we could have, and now we're in real trouble. And instead of saying, I know people are hurting and I know I'm a complete asshole, let's get this stimulus package done because it matters that people are struggling. No, instead we have to get more threats, more bullying, more
And that's what we're going to
fall in
see
line.
tonight. We are going
Yeah,
to.
fall in
All right, my
line.
prediction for tonight.
Yeah,
Roll Murray.
yeah.
We are going to see. We're going to see him bring up Hunter Biden.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to see him say corruption 32 times. He is going to probably leave the stage. I'm at about 60% that he walks off the stage.
Okay.
That's kind of my prediction. And from Joe, we are going to see, hopefully, talking to the camera.
Yeah.
Answering questions with details. And I'm really curious to see how Trump is going to handle. He gets 2 minutes, but he doesn't answer questions. No. And I'm dying to watch. Tonight should be actually entertaining.
I think that I agree with you on all of those things. I think there's going to be a lot of as he tries to talk over Biden from behind plexiglass and with his mic shut off. I really feel that at some point he's going to want to leave his podium and start stalking like he did to Clinton, which was a horrible, horrible thing. I think that we're going to see.
You think Joe's going to pop him? Please say Joe's going to pop him. Please say Joe's going to pop him.
I don't think that's part of his.
Can Obama come out and ninja kick his ass across the.
I would like to see Obama come out and hiya.
I want to see Kamala come out and go. Bah!
Yeah,
I think that would be the most amazing thing.
In her chucks, and she could just take him out.
Or her Timberlands.
Oh,
She got those hiking boots too, man.
Yeah, well, I wear those all the time. Actually, I wear my Ariats more than I wear my Timberlands, but
I wear my Vasks.
Do you? Now,
so Vask, and if you're interested, we'll be happy to take a sponsorship from you. You can wear the shoes on the show. I'm kidding. But if you want, that's good. We could use money.
I just want to show you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm holding Tippy, the dog that should be president instead of Trump because they have the same hair. See? And she is being a big pain in the rumpus, and she's supposed to be in the house, not out in the studio. And somebody let her out, and she's been barking, yapping, and trying to jump on me most of the show. So
well, you handled it magnificently.
I don't know about that, but
we hope we have given you a little bit of encouragement. Get out and vote. Vote.
Go.
Don't listen to Trump.
No.
Go vote for Joe Biden. Get there. Make sure your vote counts. If you have a tracking app and you've mailed, double check it and make sure. If you haven't looked yet, make sure you're still registered to vote. And just get out there and do it. If you do it early, you'll have less chance of dealing with shenanigans. And we all have to do it because there will be craziness, there will be hinkiness, and there's stuff going on behind the scenes at the systemic level, and we need every vote so that our votes will count.
Hey, they're trying to ramp up right now with this Iran, Russia, they've got your information, so you better be careful how you vote thing. Don't fall for it. Iran and Russia, Russia was, chest deep in our election last time. Don't fall for it. I mean, they're back again. That's where the QAnon comes from. That's where all this racial division is coming from Russia. You have to remember that they want to conquer us without firing a shot, and we're going to end up shooting at each other. If we don't get this right, we have an opportunity to set our clocks correct again, to go forward again. And so let's just do it. Let's just make a plan and get there. And, if you need some bottled water and some crackers and a ride to the polls, give us a call. Call the mamas. You know,
Absolutely. I
I've
can
driven.
provide snacks. I'm really
Yeah,
good at that.
yeah, snacks are good. So we'll go out
I
to
was not a good
socially.
craft mom. I'm just going to tell you,
Yeah.
like, for school parties, if I had to do the craft, it was always an unmitigated disaster. It's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like Trump's presidency was me trying to teach kids how to do a craft. I'm not a crafty lady.
Me either.
But I tell you, the games, I handle like a champ. So be sure to watch the game tonight. And by game, I mean political debut. We have the presidential debate. We will do a wrap up on it next Tuesday.
Right.
Thank you guys for listening. Please like, subscribe, share. If you're watching, when you click on and watch us live, other folks are able to see what you're doing and click on us live. So
Right.
thank you again, Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com. Find us on every podcast platform, YouTube, and proudly carried on the Demcast Network. We'll see you later, everybody. See you Tuesday. Happy debate. Happy
Bye.
voting. Bye bye.